David, I have a question. I have a friend who's one of my students, an elderly person that I teach IT skills to, who went walking on the pavement and had a fall because of a pavement mismatch problem, okay? And now they won't go walking again out on the pavements, all right? So from my point of view, if there is some kind of a study that gives the local council some idea, or hey, listen, people used to walk in this area, now they're not because of these reasons, I think that'd be fantastic for everybody concerned.
Yeah, so there was, thanks, Pippa. So there was this document that, it wasn't just London, I'm pretty sure it is UK-wide, but it's called The Living Streets. And it is about looking at causes of slips, trips and falls outside, and their impact and costs. What we don't have a clear idea of is the injury kind of I guess risk or burden that it causes, because someone might have a trip but not go to hospital, for example. But like that, it might have long-term impacts on their, not just their physical activity, but also their sociability, their independence, their apprehension about moving, and those things. You know, if we could prevent that or mitigate it, I feel like that would be great.
Well, David, what happened in that circumstance is that person's relatives, son, daughters, friends, well, why did you go out?
Yeah.
We've told you, come on, the pavements are going to be and then whoosh, no more going out anymore. And that was the sad end to that story, if you see what I mean. And if there was some kind of a study that the councils could point to and say, well, look, that study says we must sort out these pavement, and then they go and do it. That'd be good.
Someone asked me, they said, well, what are you going to do? You're going to straighten everything in the city. And that's obviously, first of all, unfeasible, but it's also probably not a good idea, because a little bit of challenge in a way is good for you. There's no point in just levelling everything and everything is straight and everything is easy, because actually learning to navigate obstacles and developing that strength and agility is important. But I think actually knowing that, for example, if you're walking a certain route, there's probably low risk of there being uneven surfaces that actually should be fairly navigable, versus this one, which is potentially where there are raised surfaces. So give it a try, but make sure you've got support nearby or something like that. I don't know. I'd be grateful for your thoughts.
No, I mean, let's get down to basics. We know that wobbly pavements and wobbly surfaces cause more people to trip. You don't need rocket science for that. So, anything that has level surfaces, by definition, will bring stability and stop tripping. So, if you ask me, I think the idea of cameras, etc., is not acceptable.
Well, I suppose what we're not trying to do is watch people tripping or get that impression. What we want to know is even subtle kind of areas. So, for example, there are very few areas where everything is level. There will be cambers, there will be different gradients of things, but and that will impact some people in different ways. This is my thought process anyway. And you have a very valid
and of
point.
course, London is one of the most CCTV cameras anywhere in the world. You've got the technology's there. You've got to reposition it, I would think. So I think there's more ways of, by all means, what can we do? But I think that I sometimes walk at 10,000 steps, but that takes it still takes time on people. And if you look at this area here, you're getting the longest levity going. Ocado comes to deliver. You get your meds delivered. Everybody seems to have somebody coming in to do the cleaning. A lack of activity and long levity. You've got to counter, so I think it's more complex than that. And I think they're just people having to walk, people doing the housework. Better than somebody else coming in to do the housework for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, all that stuff is what is needed.
It's
DIY, gardening, housework.
Yeah, so you have to fit into life.
This thing that I'm thinking about, is more about looking at those subtle changes that people would get as they walk on a surface. That you might say, actually, there might not be a paving slab, there might not be a tree root there, it might just be the camber, it might be the surface. That actually...
That one out there is terrible, by the way. There's a funny one just 100 yards from here, isn't it? That pavement goes like that. Just literally down the road.
So this is how it looks anyway.
But the